Get ready for the Access Australia car.
Deja vu. 10 years ago, the CSIRO had a dream of what the Australian car of the future should look like.
The car was ahead of its time, but the sort of cars that are being experimented with in the car makers today are using the same technology that we used that 8 years ago.
With car component manufacturers in the year 2000, they turned their green dream into reality. The Access Australia, a hybrid petrol-electric concept car with half the fuel consumption and 90% less emissions than conventional vehicles. CSIRO presented this dream to the head of General Motors, Holden, who at first was sceptical.
He did say that the corporation's decision was that hydrogen was the hope for the future, and well it may be, but we've now realised that hydrogen cars are so far out in the future that hydrogen will not solve our pressing issues of shortage of oil, and also it won't solve environmental issues quickly enough.
So, with $20 million from CSIRO and $5 million from Holden, work began on the ECOmmodore with stunning success.
Making a new car is pretty exciting stuff. I predicted that Holden would be so excited by the result that there was just a chance that they would put some future model, put the technologies into some future model.
Amidst the hoopla of the Sydney Olympics, the low-emission ECommodore was hailed as Australia's first green car and was made the VIP car for the Olympics torch relay. As Holden's then chairman announced its technologies would be incorporated in Holden vehicles in coming decades. Is that ringing any bells for you? I mean, has any of that happened?
We did some of the electric, different explorations of electric propulsion here in different places in the company over the last 7 or 8 years. So there is learning on the platform here off of hybrid applications from that time frame, absolutely.
If it hasn't happened in Australia, it also didn't happen with Holden's parent, General Motors America. But Toyota took a very different road, developing hybrids and other smaller fuel-efficient vehicles to great acclaim and public demand.
20 years ago, Toyota was much smaller than the US companies. Today, Toyota is not only number one, but Toyota is worth 5.5 times the sum of General Motors and Ford put together. That shows that Toyota, taking a long-term view, producing the smaller and fuel-efficient cars, has made sufficient money to make it the biggest, most dominant car maker in the world.
The markets have shifted way quicker than anybody had anticipated. And I think that's part of the problem that we're dealing with on a legacy basis. And the quicker we can shift and react to the market, the more successful we're going to be.
The Australian car industry has been adapting to falling tariff protection for many years, but more recently the rising dollar and the shift to more fuel-efficient vehicles has seen market share of local manufacturers fall markedly.
What it has meant is that for the local manufacturers in the Australian market, 5 years ago their market share was something around 32% of overall sales. Today it is less than 20%.
Not good in an industry that employs 61,200 Australians, our largest manufacturer. Its sustainability dependent on the $5 billion worth of vehicles now exported annually, second only in exports to mining. That's why this sector is so heavily supported by government, to the tune currently of $2 billion in ACES assistance over 5 years, plus the budget's $500 million Green Innovation Fund. But the government is unrepentant.
This is an industry that contributes substantially to the Australian economy. It is a major exporter. It is a major source of research and development. It is strategically vital for the rest of manufacturing. It provides the skills formation base for so many other industries, be it from plastics to aerospace. This is a critically important industry to the future of this country.
protection for the industry is supposed to be reduced in 2 years, when tariffs against imported cars are scheduled to be halved from 10% to 5%. But there's an expectation within the industry that the government's current auto industry review, led by former Victorian Premier Steve Bracks, will recommend the government postpone any further reduction in tariffs.
I think some of the early warnings that they're willing to change timetables and funding to help the industry overcome some of those challenges is really encouraging.
Tariffs, I don't think, are a very good thing for any industry. The French and the Italians, when the Japanese cars were on the rise in Europe, they actually discriminated against Japanese cars specifically in their various import policies. And frankly, French cars and Italian cars particularly suffered terribly when they tried to compete in countries like America and Australia on equal terms with Japanese cars.
So what does the future hold for the car industry in Australia? Even without government subsidies, all manufacturers say they will produce more alternative fuel vehicles. And amidst the hoopla of Toyota's hybrid announcement yesterday, it's been overlooked that Holden made a similar announcement earlier this year.
The head of Asia Pacific for General Motors was here just recently, and he said that they would produce a hybrid here. And if GM says they're going to do it, they're going to do it.
The time frame, I don't want to get into forecasting time frames here, but it's in the very near future. We have the technology available on a global GM basis that we would want to bring to bear here in Australia for Holden. And I think that's one of about 5 or 6 different technologies that we're going to begin implementing here.
General Motors US, yes, they're going to close 5 plants that make those big cars. That's where they've lost huge chunks of market share. And yes, they're going to make more fuel-efficient cars. My response is, I wish they'd done it years ago. They had the opportunity years ago. I wish they'd done it years ago. And I think they're paying very, very heavily for not having done it years ago.